Hey guys, welcome to The Community, the podcast devoted to home service businesses and those who desire to make an impact while making an income. Every dog on it!
No, just keep going.
Every week, you're going to hear real stories from real people who decided to do it their way and start a business.
Yeah, let's go.
Hey, it don't got to be perfect on the first cut.
Oh man, I just so psyched myself out about that.
Hey, welcome out. And today we do have a special guest. I would say, like, inside of the business world, what's at the top? The cherry?
Amazon, maybe? What are you saying?
I'm saying
company, person?
Yeah, I should give context. But basically, when you're growing a business, there's people that you end up meeting along the way. And I feel like inside of a home service business, the gentleman that we have today is someone that you meet along the way. Maybe whether you're at the top or near the bottom, this guy ends up coming into play. His name's Michael Kaplan, and he's got an incredible story. But basically, he's the who that you want to chat with when it comes to selling your business or starting your business. And maybe in 5-10 years, you're wanting to sell your business. And so today you're going to get a lot of value. And also just want to remind you that if you are starting a business or trying to scale it, we have a free webinar that we'd like to invite you out into. You can visit pressurewashingpastor.com and you can sign up for a free webinar where we actually teach 14 steps, and I give it all away.
Wow.
On how, like, point
Maybe
by
we
point.
shouldn't.
No, we should.
We should. We're givers.
Because if we help more people get into the marketplace, especially faith-based entrepreneurs, I think the space will be a better place.
That's good.
And so check out our website if you're looking to grow and scale a business. Sign up for the free webinar. It costs you nothing.
$0.
$0.
Man, you know who doesn't know much about $0? The guest for today. Dude is a straight up G, man. I can't believe we get to have him in here.
Yeah,
And
awesome.
I want to say Josiah had like a nickname for this guy.
Yeah.
Do you want to save it? Or do you
I'll
Give
save
it.
it. I'll
Drop
save it.
it.
I'll save it. I'll save it.
Oh,
I'll save it.
Hey, make sure you stay tuned. You're going to hear a special nickname that Josiah has given Michael Kaplan before the show.
Sweet.
All right, let's go ahead and let him in the show.
Lord help us.
Welcome, Money Michael.
Thanks for having me, guys. I feel underdressed. I'm out of uniform. I don't have any brown swag.
Yeah, we'll send you some.
Yeah, don't worry. They only cost $30,000 per shirt. So,
Yeah, if you like, subscribe, and share, we're going to send you a free T-shirt and a hat that you can wear and so forth. No, we're honored to have you here. We met you as it relates to us belonging to a mentor networking type group called the BBB, and we've met maybe 2 or 3 times outside of that, and you've always been so helpful. And so today I'm super excited to have you on as a guest. And as we just open up, I've got a hard question. It's always the first question, and it is, who is Michael Kaplan?
Why? Well, I mean, you guys really overstated who I am and what I do. I'm just a dude in Minnesota. So I fell into the home service industry in 2006 and just kind of been running since. And it never was my intention to have a career in home service, but I cannot tell you. I mean, it's such an amazing industry. The people I've met and the ability to really kind of choose your own course and create your own destiny is unparalleled with home service. Near and dear to my heart.
Awesome. I think there's more to discover. You said 2006, so take me to 2005. What were you doing, and then what was the introduction into the home service business?
Well, I think I probably should go back a little bit further. So I was always entrepreneurial. I was the kid, selling baseball cards and candy at school and that sort of stuff. We all know those kids. And I thought, going into the end of college, I was like, you know what, do what you know. And I thought I'd start up a bunch of Jimmy John's in Boston because, it's one of the most expensive markets in America. So terrible plan. And, I moved to Georgia and I'm looking at opening up Jimmy John's, and I ran into a question that kind of stumped me. And the question was, what if my tomatoes don't show up? And, it's a pretty simple question. All right, you go buy other tomatoes, right? But I thought, well, I've got contracts that say, I can use this vendor, maybe not that vendor. I've got to use this type of tomato, not that type. So thinking, is there recourse? Am I in trouble if I break the contract? Do I have recourse against the vendor who stiffed me? Yeah. And I started thinking, well, all right, I just got stumped on tomatoes. Maybe I'm not quite ready to start a business, right? So ended up going to law school. Great alternative to an MBA. I looked at an MBA, but it just felt like a better fit, and didn't want to practice. Wanted it to really kind of be an education that helped me hit the ground running for buying or starting a business. And so, I'm taking all the classes and writing a bunch of business plans for all these startups. And it just dawned on me as I realized, in writing all these terrible business plans, that it'd be a lot easier if I bought a business. And so I started putting the feelers out, and pretty quick ran into some folks who were buying a carpet cleaning company. And it was led by a real estate agent who had good experience with this particular vendor, company called Zerorez. And they had 3 trucks and 2 employees, and they were really getting their butts kicked in Minnesota. But I didn't know what I didn't know. So put together a group and some money, and we bought the company. And so I kind of fell into home service because it was the first opportunity that I could really wrap my arms around. And it just, there were so many businesses, beginning of the 2000s, everything was tech. And I thought business had to be sexy. But when I realized, wait, local service and, guys in trucks, it's not sexy, but it really works. And it's easy to wrap your arms around, easy to understand. It's not that it's not complicated. It's just, it's more addressable and lower barriers to entry. So for a first rodeo, it was a great fit.
Awesome. Would you mind just take me through that business for a second? Just tell me the stages it went through, and then what was the exit from that business, if there is an exit or if you still run it. Just take me through that business real quick.
Sure. So the first 7 stages were dumpster fire, on through dumpster fire. And then at about stage 6, we had literal dumpster fires because we started installing carpet, and guys would throw their cigarette butts into the dumpster and fire. So guys, lighten up, man. Ooh, tough crowd. Oh wait, I'll try and be funny.
Dumpster fires are all too close to home. Okay.
Yeah, that's normal.
That's day to day, bro.
Set apartments on fire.
We used to catch trees on fire and all sorts of fires. So we bought the business. It was doing maybe about 300,000. They were losing money, but we saw what we thought was a path toward profitability. But we didn't know what we didn't know. Day one was all about just trying to understand what we were doing, trying to understand the business model, and there really wasn't one. There wasn't a service model that made any sense. They had these huge trucks that were, they cost us, $150, $180 per job to operate because of all the maintenance. They were diesel. They were really, just a kick in the nuts before you even, ask for a check for the job. The pricing model didn't make any sense. They were charging per square foot. And, I went to my mom's house one day and said, "Hey, Mom, how big do you think your living room is?" And she's, our ideal customer. She's not price sensitive, but she said, "Well, I think the living room's probably about 5,000 square feet." I was like, okay, maybe it's like 300 square feet. So people don't understand per square foot. How can they understand what you charge if you charge per square foot? Mm-hmm. And then, the media model was kind of the other thing that was upside down. We didn't have a package. We didn't know how to address the market, how to communicate what we were doing, or through what medium to do it. So we kind of went to school on it, and just, we inherited our radio campaign and flipped a coin when we started. Heads, I'm accounting; tails, I'm marketing. I don't know if I won or lost, but I got marketing. And so I inherited that radio campaign and just kind of tried to figure out what would work. And I think probably everything that didn't work. and got to a point where we kind of cracked the code in 2009. So from a revenue standpoint, we did about 300,000 that first year. We only owned it for a couple months. We did maybe 700, 710 the next year, did $1.1 million. And then we cracked the code on radio, and right as the world was collapsing. So, end of 2008, beginning of 2009, we got some good press. We started investing heavy in radio because we thought we had it whooped, and started growing. So we went from $1.1 million to 2.5 to 5 to 8 to 11 million kind of in consecutive years, and then started growing out of state. And when I left the business in 2018, sold to my partners, we were doing probably about 17, 18 million in Pittsburgh, Omaha, St. Louis, Charlotte, and Savannah.
Bananas.
That is
bananas.
Wild, brother.
And
good
bananas
grief
is also a name of a marketing. Don't you have a marketing company called Banana Marketing?
Close. I'm a big Arrested Development fan, so it's Banana Stand Marketing because there's always money in the banana stand. But so I kind of became known as the expert in marketing in kind of the universe that I was playing in. And when I exited zerorez, I had made an active effort to be helpful. My phone would ring and I would help with marketing. And people were so inconsiderate. When I left zerorez, they kept calling. And I don't know why. And finally I decided, okay, well, I'm helping these people with marketing. I may as well start up an agency. So we buy TV or radio, digital, do web dev, all the things that I did as a business owner, we do for business owners in the home service space.
Yeah. Is that your primary bread and butter now?
Banana Stand it's a passion project. I would say that I'm not full-time with it. I do have partners that are full-time, and I love it. And I love being able to engage in the business model that people have and help, do some teaching, some coaching, as well as buy some media. But it's more of a passion project than a full-time thing. The full-time gig is called Booyah Capital Partners. And it's, for lack of a better phrase, it's somewhere in between private equity and a family office. So private equity uses third-party money to acquire businesses, and typically they're flipping them. They've got a shorter investment horizon because they've got to return the capital to their investors. We don't do that. We do use third-party money to acquire businesses, but we take a buy and hold approach, more like a family office. And why sell something that works? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So we try to acquire and really invest in people. And as long as the business isn't about to be squashed by an Amazon or outside forces or lack of leadership, we're in it to win it for the long term.
Wow.
We're gonna get into the weeds here in a second.
Yeah.
But before we get in the weeds, how many businesses would you say that you guys have invested in? And let me say it right. Is it Booyah? I think it's
Booyah.
Booyah.
Yeah, you can raise the roof too if you need to.
I actually started that in North Carolina at a Carolina game. Next thing you know, everybody's doing it.
That's his claim to fame.
Yeah, that's my claim.
Yeah, Booyah Capital Partners.
Yeah, how many businesses would you say you guys have invested in? Hey, I'm going to interrupt for a second because we've got a phenomenal opportunity for you. If you've been thinking about opening your own pressure washing company, I'd like to invite you to a free webinar. There we'll talk about the pros and cons of opening a pressure washing, and you'll get to chat with our team about whether or not you should launch a pressure washing company in your city or not. To register for this free event, go to pressurewashingpastor.com, scroll down to the little registration button, it's blue, and click on it, and we'll take care of the rest. I look forward to seeing you there. Have a great day. Now back to our show.
Probably about 20, give or take. Active holdings are less than that. Some things run their course. sometimes we'll buy a business in its entirety. Sometimes we'll invest in an entrepreneur and take some of the burden off. Sometimes we'll invest in an entrepreneur's business and take all of the administrative burden off, and they'll just move to sales. Some people are really high visionary, and they just kind of stumble into all this growth, and they create this tornado of problems behind them because they don't have any systems, and they've got a burden rather than an asset. But they're really good at some of the things they do. Well, we'll match up with them and complement the things that they suck at and hate doing that we're great at and love doing, and put them in a position where they still have some equity, but they're living their best life because they've offloaded all the burden.
Quick question for hopefully a quick answer. How long has Booyah been operating? Is that since 2006, or did that start after?
It started after. So my business partner, I don't know if he's famous or infamous in the home service space. It's Mike Dahlke. And he's been in the pressure washing, window cleaning space a lot longer than I have. But I guess I've got more years in home service than he does. And I think I'm taller too. So there's that.
You're way better looking, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So he and I met in maybe 2009, and we started kind of running parallel path. He started buying window cleaning companies. I had, some inroads in home service. And so we were collaborating. Our first investment together was probably 2014, 2015. And we did a couple investments in deals together, buying a maid service, investing in a home, in a window cleaning company in California. And then we officially set up Booyah in 2018, I think, right about the time, or shortly thereafter, when I left zerorez.
So informally, for close to a decade, more formally about 6-7 years, 5 years or so. Do you guys think you've cracked the code on what type of businesses to acquire and what the telltale signs of a dumpster fire business is?
Yes and no. I'm not dumb enough to say yes without asterisks. But I will say that we do kind of a post-mortem or a post-closing analysis of every deal. And we try to look at what principles were at play here, and what can we glean about why things went the way they went. It's always interesting when you look back and you ran into this crazy sales guy, and he sold you on all these amazing things, and then you look back after the fact and you're like, man, that was terrible. That didn't work at all. And, there was no structure. And you're like, of course, because he's this crazy sales guy. And that's what crazy sales guys do. There are situations like that in business acquisition, or in turnarounds, or in, dealing with people, that after the fact, it's always like, oh, of course it was. And we try to glean what those aha moments were, so that we can spot them in advance the next time and avoid the pain. So we haven't figured out all of the dumpster fire moments, but when we don't do a ton of turnarounds right now, but when we used to do a lot of turnarounds, we would always try to make sure that the person we're dealing with and about to engage in turning their business from that dumpster fire into a sustainable long-term asset. We would try to make sure that the owner really was in the headspace to accept help. It's like, the alcoholic who, in kind of until they hit bottom or are willing to accept help, all you can do is be a good friend. You can't really change, their trajectory. Same thing with a business owner. If you start helping the person and you engage in a turnaround and they're not really ready for it because they haven't hit bottom, they're going to revert to their old ways really quickly. And so, things like that, trying to make sure that we have really identified what we're dealing with. And then the other part of your question, sorry, I'm talking so much, but the other part of your question is, for us, really trying to make sure that we stick to our sweet spot. We've done we've done manufacturing businesses. We've done businesses that don't meet certain criteria, and we've started to realize that really our the pitch that we can hit the most consistent and the furthest is guys in trucks with sticky revenue. So if there's home service or trades that has a client base that isn't transactional, it's relationship based, where they're paying with frequency instead of a business like carpet cleaning where you're trying to acquire customers every day. It sets us up for success, and it decreases the likelihood of failure.
Wow. Question for you. You were kind of just mentioning the leadership inside of businesses, and you actually equated an Amazon as an equal threat to poor leadership, an Amazon competitor moving into the area. What are some of the top 3 signs of poor or bad leadership that you can quickly pick up on when you're looking at a business?
Boy, that's a whole separate podcast, man. How to distill it down. I would really look at a lack of servant leadership. Someone who, I always look at the pyramid as being upside down, and if I'm the big cheese, I work for all the other people. My job, I've got the greatest job out there. Like I love doing what I do. I source deals, leaders, and capital, and find creative combinations to put them together. But I work for the leader that we put in place to run standard water control systems, or barrier construction, or Noble Electric, you name it. I work for them. So when my phone rings, I'm not likely to have all the answers, but my job is to help them think through the problems and give them an opportunity to be the best leader that they can be. And when people aren't a servant leader, and they're not, putting their back into it and really taking that mindset of I work for the people who produce, I think that's a real challenge. What else is there?
Now, is that something that can be taught, or do you see that most people who are not the servant leader, they're most likely not going to get that model or that ideology?
I think that you can teach old dogs new tricks. It really depends on their mindset and what they're trying to accomplish. I don't think you can teach bad people to be good. I think that some people behave badly and can shake those bad habits. And same with leadership. I think that a lot of people are more often than not, the reason they kind of stink at leadership is they haven't been given the tools, or people haven't invested in them to help them become great leaders. And I'm not a great leader. I have moments, but my job is to try and be humble and sprinkle whatever mojo I can on the people who are the really good leaders, and stay the heck out of the way. I'm more effective when I'm not in operations. But a lot of people are allergic to the truth, and I think that's a leadership issue as well, where people either won't engage in the reality that's in front of them, or they'll point fingers, or they'll find ways to place blame, rather than saying, all right, I'm accountable, and we don't like where we are. We have to change the systems. We have to change our game plan. We have to engage in the reality and run with it to try and move the needle. But every system's perfectly designed to get exactly the result it gets. If you don't like the results you're getting, you got to change the system. You can't just say, well, it's Rick's fault, blame Rick. Well, you're the leader. If Rick's doing a bad job, whose fault is that? It's yours.
That's good.
As you go on and move through acquiring multiple businesses, I would imagine that the systems that you guys do have are pretty good for either flipping and sustaining or flipping and selling. Is bad cash flow a good sign or a bad sign? Like, Meaning, if it's bad cash flow, does that make it an easier deal for you and you can typically turn it around? Or do you still want to see good cash flow?
So I like buying businesses that are undervalued, that are working, but we'll engage in businesses that are broken as well. It really depends on why they're broken. So if it's internal factors, I'm all over it. If it's external factors, tariffs, um, competition, lack of a market, you know, the some kind of government regulation, those things aren't within our control, and you need to really be cautious, and we try to stay away from those types of businesses. But just having a level of distress or underperformance doesn't really scare me if I either have experience or have someone on my team or in my network that has experience working with that type of business and having success.
How often are you keeping after an acquisition, the owner inside of the company, and how often is a transition actually happening?
On a percentage basis, I would say it's probably, maybe a third of the time. We are always open to keeping good people in on the cap table, meaning in ownership, as labor, on the accountability chart, or as consultants if they've got some mojo and they're good people. But if a lot of people, when they're selling, they're saying, well, I'm selling because I want to go do other things. I want to free up my time, or I want to have the resources to go do XYZ. And if that's their vision, and we can help them achieve it, great. If they want to keep killing stuff in the business and there's a great role for them, I would take a smaller slice of the pie, knowing that the pie has a chance to be bigger because we've got exceptional talent on the team.
Michael, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
What is a no-brainer layup? You're giving half fives to all booyah capital investors. Did I say it wrong?
Booyah.
Booyah.
Yeah. So let me ask it again. What is a no-brainer acquisition situation? Don't give me several. Give me one that's like, I love it when this situation is on the table.
I would say when we meet up with a humble entrepreneur who isn't trying to be or doesn't think they're the smartest guy in the room, but they have a proven record of excellence, an addressable market opportunity, and they're looking at us and saying, help, give me a gift, invest in me, invest with me, and we'll run together. So there's a fleet wash company that we're just closing an investment in. The guy's got a huge market. He's a leader in the market. He wants to do M&A, and he says, you know what, to really do M&A, I should bring in some experts. And I know these guys, I trust them. They're willing to put up cash. And so in selling us some equity, he's going to keep running the business. He's going to continue to be a key strategist and a leader in the business. And he's taking some chips off the table, meaning he's taking some cash out of the business, but most of the cash that we're investing is going into the coffers of the business to spur sales and acquisition. And he's got some acquisition targets already. So Fleet Wash is a terrific business because it's reoccurring revenue. It's sticky business. People aren't actively shopping for vendors, and for the people driving the trucks, it's not that fleet washing them is a requirement, but it's the face of their company. They want them to look good, and so the people who are inclined to buy are inclined to stay. So we're really excited about it. But it's what makes that investment so special is the mindset of the entrepreneur we're partnering with.
Thank you for answering that. So I'm interested in purchasing a friend's business. They reach out to me. It's struggling. What are the 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 things that I need to look at in order for me to make a wise decision on whether or not I should try to acquire his business?
I would really look at your expertise. We bought a struggling cabinet manufacturer during the pandemic and thought, it's such a great buy because they've got so much inventory, but we weren't the experts at cabinet manufacturing. We know a guy and we brought him in on a consulting basis, and Jake's been extremely helpful, but we shouldn't have bought the business. I mean, it's not our aptitude. So I would say, just because it's a great deal, don't do it for that reason alone. Is there something about the opportunity that you have something special to add, right? Is it your cash and they just need some money to do some investment that you understand how you'll get an ROI on it? Is it your aptitude? You've been through that rodeo before, with the guys in trucks business. I've been doing it since 06. And our team has, decades of experience. We get that. We eat that. I can't say shit on this. We eat that shit for breakfast. You'll bleep it out. So, we really understand those businesses. So, give me a struggling pressure washing company that meets the other criteria. We can do that. Why is it struggling? Is it a lack of leadership? Is it a lack of investment? Is it a lack of understanding of the difference between investment and expense? Is it that the market's too small? Is it that the market hasn't valued their services? Is it their, whatever the reason? I would really look at. Yeah, go ahead.
If you didn't know by now, we have created the #1 video courses on starting and scaling a pressure washing company on the market.
That's right. But head knowledge will only take you so far. You need the hands-on experience.
So what we crafted for you guys is an Experience Nashville 3-day boot camp. 2 days in the field, learning everything as it relates to pressure and soft washing and how the systems work, and 1 full day of breakout sessions with Joshua and myself. Visit pressurewashingpastor.com, scroll down till you see a link to my calendar. We will grab a call together and figure out how to get you here to Nashville.
And then we will see you in Nashville.
Back to the show.
Let's play a game. Do you enjoy games?
Sounds like the Joker.
Yeah.
Let's play
a game.
I'm a little scared, but
put a
I'm
smile
open
on that
for it.
face.
So you'll ask me questions, and we will play a live game of should we acquire that business, and you'll ask me, I'll give you answers, and then maybe this will bring clarity to someone else that might be looking to acquire a business. Not that we are looking at
asking for a friend.
We're asking for a friend. And so we have a friend who may have done $500,000 in 2022. They're in the pressure washing space. They're in a city, maybe 4 hours away, and they have the same, customer background, same marketing. Everything's very much similar to what we do. The issue is they have no leader. Their leader has gone through some challenges, and the heart of waking up and leading the business is gone, and that leader ultimately needs to be relieved from the situation. But everything appears to be in line with if they have new leadership inside of their company, it's ready to scale.
Key factor, the leader's not mad at the business or anything. There's no disgruntledness there. It's just not the season for him.
It could be addiction. It could be a failed child or something that's going on relationally. Like there could be something that has broken him, where his eyes and heart are no longer on the business. But it seems like there's a market. They've got equipment. The numbers look it looks like a good acquisition. What are some of the questions and things that you're thinking?
I would skip the first couple because you do have the aptitude. You've got the proven track record. You understand how that business works. Tell me about the opportunity cost. If you pursue this opportunity, are there other things in your existing business or other potential investment or opportunities that you wouldn't be able to pursue?
Yeah, and I think if we did pursue it, a lot of our energy would be on their company getting healthy, when we feel like we're in this season where we need to focus on our company getting healthy because of growth over this past year through national brands. So with Upflip and us doing boot camps and things like that, I think the opportunity cost would be, we're now taking our eyes off of what needs to have our energy on, of just our main business here in Nashville, because now our energy and time and thoughts are going to that area, unless we bring on somebody who's going to be the character that carries that burden in that new location.
Yeah. And so, I mean, when you think about, if you add $200,000 to his business or $200,000 to your business, in your business, that 200,000 is going to be extremely profitable because you're running a well-oiled machine and, you're printing money. In his business, you might not make anything off that 200. And it's a lot easier to scale a big business by 200,000 versus scaling a smaller business that doesn't have the brand equity. I'd look at the addressable market. Is the market big enough but small enough? If the market, I know it's not Chicago, but if you said, hey, I want to buy something in Chicago, I would, if they're doing 500,000, I'd tell you to run, because that's such a small number in such a huge pond. Like, you have so far to go. But what's the market? Or can you speak generally about the size of the market?
Yeah, it would be similar to maybe Nashville 5 years ago. There is growth taking place. He is one of the bigger companies in 4 to 5 years inside of that city. And so there seems to be an opportunity to grow it, I would say, to 1 million within a few years. It doesn't seem that far off. It really looks like they made some bad decisions in hiring and scaling and putting on more debt and more people without having SOPs and training their team and keeping people accountable.
Capacity issues.
Sure.
Yeah, that ended up creating this fall or this opportunity.
The tornado whirlwind, as you might say.
Yeah. So I would, this might not be the right question to ask now, but, or to answer now, but I would be thinking about, what would you need to do to make it profitable? And if the only answer you have is grow, I would run, because I think you need to engage in the economic reality, and you should be able to be profitable wherever you are. If the best idea is, well, we have to add $400,000 to make this thing profitable, you've got a problem.
Mm-hmm. Question for you. My brain is thinking about a handful of other questions. If y'all want to ask questions, make sure you tap me on the knee, and I'm going to keep asking questions. If it was you, would you rather start a business from scratch in a market, or purchase a business that might be 3 or 4 years in the growth mode? And I know there might be variables, but let's say the variables are even on both sides of the question. Mm-hmm. So you can either start from scratch using money that you've got, your systems, what to do, you've done it before, you've moved to a new area, or you see a business does about 200, 300,000. It's got some leadership, got a little tweaking to do. Which would you rather do? Is there a no-brainer question? Is there a no-brainer answer here?
I would take door number 3, which is buy an even more established business. But amongst the two, it's really tricky because, growth through acquisition is so much easier than a startup. You already know the addressable market. Even if all the systems are broken, it's easier to fix than to create. But at the size you're talking about, there's no infrastructure. The odds that they have any kind of systems are probably very slim. It's, the owner's cell phone that rings, not the company's phone. There isn't, a set way of doing things. It's how the owner does it. So if the owner's not sticking around, it's probably a really difficult situation to have continuity and retain the client base and whatever small team they have. But if you scale up just a little bit and they're doing maybe, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, it gets a lot easier because you start to have some a less flat organization. But I would say a general principle I live by is don't do startups. I try not to do them. We still do them once in a while, but it is so much more expedient and efficient to do an acquisition if you know what you're doing, or you can bring on people to supplement the areas that you don't understand.
Let's add a little flavor to a little context to the situation.
Flavor. Yeah, boy. I love some flavor. All right,
so let's add some flavor. They have systems. They're not nailing it. We would change probably all of them. You're speaking from the context that the owner is the face of the company. And in this current situation, let's say that's not really happening.
Sure.
And so their systems are okay. They do have some team members. So it's really leaderships and systems restructure that's there. Is there now a more no-brainer decision over startup or acquisition in this arena?
You look at the relative cost. I mean, if it costs you, in a business like you're describing, that's probably, doing a couple $100,000, and doesn't have a lot of EBITDA. I mean, how do you value it as a, probably, 30 to 60% of revenue?
That's a great question. You tell us, how do you value that?
Probably 30 to 60% of revenue, somewhere in there. And it would depend on, how stable things are. But I would be looking at having a contingent fee that says, I'm not going to guarantee you X. I'm going to pay you X or a percentage above or below X, depending on how the asset produces.
Yes.
Because
love it.
They have a burden, and you're trying to turn it into an asset. You're going to do the heavy lifting, and you can pay them based on how successful you are. And if they don't think you're going to be successful, they shouldn't sell to you. But for you to go out and acquire $200,000 in pressure washing revenue, think about what that costs, and then make sure that you're paying probably less than that, and because 200,000 probably isn't going to be the number once you start firing the bad clients and really getting into the weeds. Does this business have any kind of proven customer acquisition mousetraps, that levers you can pull, where you say, hey, this thing's really working. If I put in $1, I'm going to get $4 out?
Relatively speaking, yes.
Yes, I would say it's set up very much like we spend a lot of time coaching them to get started. And so we understand the marketing levers, the everyday direct mail. We could pull some levers and the thing can get rolling. The only concern would be the opportunity cost of like the eyes off of what we're currently trying to work towards. And then and then the leadership of us finding the right person to lead there, because for us, servant leadership is at the top of our core values, and identifying someone to be that servant leader, I don't know if it's a person that is currently already on board. We would have to find someone in their market or send someone there to establish and raise up a leader.
But let's say that the acquisition cost is even maybe less than 20%, right, of what they're doing. In my head, it rings just, there's not a lot to lose. And I know that kind of sounds silly, but based off of what we know and what we've observed and what we know works inside of Nashville, it's such a small cost, especially if the deal is structured the right way. So I kind of want to get into that of like, if the physical cost is like less than 20%, how are you structuring a deal with this guy, with the owner who's not really involved in the business?
Well, ask me that question in a quick minute, because I don't want to forget this point. There are businesses where we've said you would have to pay me to take this business because it is difficult. It takes my eye off the ball, and it doesn't align with the vision that I'm trying to implement. So I think probably the most important, we've covered a lot of ground, but I would be looking at, all right, so what's your mission, your vision, your values, and what's your 3 or 5 year goal? And when you look at that opportunity cost, yeah, this sounds like it aligns with what you're doing. Maybe it takes your eye off the ball, but maybe it helps you further the great things that you want to be doing. But on a relative basis, think about how hard is it relative to the opportunity you're not pursuing. How likely is it to succeed relative to the opportunity you're not pursuing? How much of an impact is it going to have on the bottom line, and on furthering your values? And really look for that alignment with your mission, your vision, your values, and your long-term goal. And then do a quick analysis that says, all right, what's the best case scenario if we do it? What's the worst case scenario if we do it? What's the best case scenario if we don't do it? What's the worst case scenario if we don't do it? And best case, you have fun and you make money, and you get a feather in your cap, and you set yourself up for success to do it again and again. And you're more confident, and you know what to avoid and what to engage in. Worst case, you've got a problem child and all kinds of fires and problems, and you can do the math. But I think it's not crazy hard when you start to get analytic about it. What was the question I told you to ask after my rant?
How to set up
how to structure the deal.
Yeah. So, I assume the owner's exiting completely.
Yes.
Okay. And by the way, not a lawyer, not giving legal advice. Disclaimer.
We're going to edit that.
Yeah, I am giving legal advice. So, I would really look to try and have either a very small fee or a very reasonable fee that is not all guaranteed, but is based on the production of the asset. I would be buying assets, not stock. If you buy the stock, you buy all the problems of the company. If you buy the assets, you buy all the things of the company. So, Rick's Pressure Washing in Huntsville did a job, and they get sued a year from now for something they did last year. You don't want that liability. You want to create productive relationships moving forward. If you buy the stock of the company, you're buying that liability. Yeah, you can carve out certain liability and whatnot, but it's just so much cleaner if you buy the assets. You're buying the name, you're buying the trucks, you're buying the 401k, and you're engaging with the employees who are working for Newco. And they try to sue Rick's, and you say, well, Rick's is actually ABC LLC, and that's not me. I'm Newco LLC. And obviously you're going to do right by people, but they want to sue you for $1 million for something that happened on the old guy's watch. They'll put me under that. That's not my fault. It's his. And then I would really look at, a key thing that's going to make or break this venture is the guy. And I think that's one thing you really need to think about. You don't have the guy in the new city. You could move a guy to the new city, but you got to really think about the box you're putting him in. Is that really the job where they get up every day and they want it, they understand it, and they have the capacity to do it, and they are thrilled about doing it in whatever town that is.
If you didn't know by now, we have created the #1 video courses on starting and scaling a pressure washing company on the market.
That's right. but head knowledge will only take you so far. You need the hands-on experience.
So what we crafted for you guys is an Experience Nashville 3-day boot camp. 2 days in the field, learning everything as it relates to pressure and soft washing and how the systems work, and 1 full day of breakout sessions with Joshua and myself. Visit pressurewashingpastor.com, scroll down till you see a link to my calendar. We will grab a call together and figure out how to get you here to Nashville.
And then we will see you in Nashville.
Back to the show.
I love that. We got some traction, conversation going on. I have 2 more questions for me, and then I'm done asking you questions for today. Yeah, you guys can determine. We're already hitting about 45, 50 minutes, which is usually about the amount of time, but it's a great conversation. Would you do me a favor and walk me through?
Anytime.
Thank you. And I feel like we're going to have part 2, 3, 4, hopefully in the future, unless you hate this, the way it went out, you get sued for giving legal advice. Can you walk me through the numbers of why you very quickly went to door 3? Help me never forget this next statement. The startup versus acquisition numbers. Why is it a no-brainer to go to a bigger company and acquire it versus investing in startup money?
And I think there is that asterisk. It depends on the size of the acquisition. A small acquisition is probably more complicated and more painful than a larger acquisition. Someone with 500,000 in revenue and 50 grand in EBITDA versus a company doing 2 million that has 400,000 in EBITDA. The larger one has systems. It has the owner is maybe pivotal, but they're not doing everything. They've got staff, they've got systems, they've got people in place. They've got probably some more proven marketing tactics. We bought a company a couple of years ago, and they do drain tile. They tear up basements and make sure water goes where it's supposed to. And it was January 2nd and the phone rings and we're like, we didn't spend anything, but the phone just rang. People are trying to give us $8,000. That's amazing. Because it's an established company. With a smaller company, it's really, really tricky. And you're having to wear a ton of hats like you would with a startup. But, a lot of startups, people are going and saying, I have a great idea and I'll take it to the market. People who are really, really smart are saying this market is begging for the implementation of this, and I'm going to fill that void. So if you have an addressable market, and you've been able to prove that people are willing to pay for the service, a startup's not a terrible idea. It's just really hard because I've seen plenty of people, start businesses and they're like, oh, I've got so many connections and I know so many people. Well, right. That's going to last you the first 2 weeks, but then you have to go out and you have to really invest and you have to find marketing mousetraps, and the first 5 are going to obviously not work. So it really takes a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and money to do a startup. And I've done startups with, $5,000 in cash. And I did a startup with about $2 million in cash. The 2 million was fun. It was still stupid. But when we opened up Pittsburgh for zerorez, we started out with 4 trucks, 1 employee. And day 1, we spent about $23,000 on radio. Like day 1, we had 1 employee. And the first month, we cleaned about 16,000 with 1 guy while he's trying to hire, while he's trying to, figure out how to, fill the gas tank and, where how the roads work, because Pittsburgh's all convoluted. And we imported him from Minnesota. So it was, really upside down. We did $1 million within our first 9 months. I mean, it worked, but heads exploded. You have to break eggs to make an omelet. We broke all the eggs. It was a lot harder to do that than it would have been to acquire a company doing $1 million. But because we had so much investment capital, it it eased the burn, but we did a whole lot of research in advance and just happened to, find the right market. And there's, you could do it 20 other times and not, get lightning in a bottle the way we did.
Juicy.
Juicy. I don't know if I answered your question at all, but
no, you did.
Juicy.
So,
I mean, the answer sounds to me like if you have capital and time and patience to invest, it can make sense if you nail the market. But it's even inside of that, it's like catching lightning in a bottle, whereas you can do slower implementation of your systems on a business if they need the fixing anyways. It's kind of almost like a direction thing, a mission, vision type thing on whether or not to start or acquire.
My last question. I'll go ahead.
Well, I'll say, the other thing, like we tried, because it was a startup and because we were able to raise money, because we had a track record at doing the exact same type of business, we were able to invest in things like we did a market survey to really identify our market. Pittsburgh wasn't my, I didn't just say, well, let's go to Pittsburgh. We looked at Pittsburgh, Seattle, Austin, Virginia Beach, Charlotte. Like we looked at all these different markets, and we paid like $25,000 to have somebody identify what it is that works in Minnesota. What are the key attributes and mindsets of the people who are using our carpet cleaning company in Minnesota? And where can we find the best mirror of those attributes in the US amongst the cities that we picked? And then overlaid our marketing strategy, which was primarily radio. And we said, well, we really like Seattle, but we don't like the Seattle radio market as much as we like the Pittsburgh radio market. So even though Pittsburgh demographics, psychographics aren't quite as good, the radio market is so much better. We'll go for it.
It fits your mousetrap better.
So, So, I mean, we looked at the mousetrap and then the psychology and the demographics but the typical startup, you're not going to go out and spend, 20, 30 grand doing market research. We did because, we realized that we had enough on the line that we couldn't pick it up.
And Josiah, Brady, if you have any other questions to follow up, I have one question here, and then we're going to, end up inviting you to part 2 in the future in regards to marketing, because I feel like we didn't even tap into some of the conversation and marketing that you've mentioned. But if you were to purchase all the companies that are inside the same industry, so, whether it's carpet or if it's, dumpster burning, whatever industry it is, why not put them underneath one brand, have a phone system? If you're into private equity money, in my head, why don't, when you purchase, you change everything and put it underneath one brand and then run things as that brand?
You certainly can. I mean, I think it comes down to, on a case by case basis, what equity does a business have? What mind share do they have in their particular market? And if they're a household name, don't mess with it. Like, why? How are you going to improve on that? Like, we've got, I mentioned before, standard water control systems. They do drain tile. Well, we implemented radon. We're doing radon mitigation and kind of exhausting air from underground that you don't want, so radon doesn't seep into the house. And it's a big deal in Minnesota. But the company is called Standard Water Control Systems. Nobody knows that we do radon until we beat it into their heads. It's not intuitive. We could be I don't know, something catchier, but the phone keeps ringing because people know Standard Water. So we're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's definitely circumstances where, if someone's, not doing a lot of revenue, or they're not well known, or they're new enough, and you've got, a powerhouse or a thematic brand that's purposeful, absolutely. Replace the name. But whether you're replacing the name or not has nothing to do with the systems. If you're buying 3, 4, 5 companies, have a call center, have one marketing person, one accountant, duplication. A real reason for acquisition is to cut out costs, and we're not zombie capitalists going out looking to cut heads off, but I don't need a marketing person in each market or a bookkeeper in each market. Sometimes I do, but the hope would be that I could find some efficiency and economies of scale such that I don't.
Gentlemen, any more questions?
I'm saving mine for part 2.
Yeah, seriously. Let's go.
Kaplan, any questions you got for us today?
No, I mean, you guys are doing amazing. I wish I said smarter things, but I'm happy to share whatever experience I can, and if you'll have me back, I'd love to do it.
Yeah,
and by the way, it's often wrong, but never in doubt. You weren't even close.
I was wrong, but I was really confident about it.
Exactly.
If individuals were interested in getting a hold of you, how would they find out more about your marketing or even a conversation about acquisition?
Marketing, we've got bananastandmarketing.com. Anyone who's an Arrested Development fan will find it easily. Bananastandmarketing.com. And then, on the investment side, we are, I think it's thebooyah.com, BOOYAH. It's not a good website, but that's not what we do. Thebooyah.com. But, you'll see us at the huge convention. It's one of our investments. We bought it a couple years ago. We've got a mastermind you mentioned called AMP. You can find that at thehugeconvention.com. And, we get together in Nashville and beat up ideas. And, otherwise you'll see me around. But love to engage with anybody who's looking to have a business or marketing conversation.
Well, as we close the show, I'm going to make a special request from our production manager to open the show with Tennessee. Take me to a bed. All right, so anyway,
that's Arrested Development rap group from the 90s.
No, I wasn't there.
This here's a story of getting beat by an African. I love this song. I'm an Arrested Development fan, so I get the Banana Stand, and
Love it.
I appreciate it.
And I like the band too. I haven't heard Tennessee for years, but I'm gonna listen when we're done.
Yeah, go ahead and ask. I'll just yell out, "Echo, play Banana Stand." No.
Everybody's echoes just went off.
Yeah, everyone's like, or Amazon or Alexa. Hey, thank you so much for being a guest on our show, and until next time,
Peace.